Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Franchise Tag podcast for the old fan, the new fan, and the UK fan. I hope you're doing all okay. I hope you all recovered after the Tottenham game. We just had the London game at the weekend with the Atlanta Falcons facing off against the New York Jets. The Falcons coming away with the win 27-20. All three of us were there. Me and Andrew were there, and we met Adam for the first time, which I know must be crazy to you guys because we do this podcast every week, but we've actually never met Adam nor his wife either before, which was really lovely meeting them. Really lovely. We had a lot of friends go down. We had a really great time. Okay, there was some problems with the Tottenham Stadium. I think everyone knows the problems. They hopefully will figure out the beer situation. Just always remember, it's not the people's fault behind the desk. They're just doing their job. These things happen with that. Hopefully it'll be a bit more better ran next week. This week, I suppose, this Sunday coming with the Miami Dolphins and the Jacksonville Jaguars game. We three will be back down there again. This time we will be doing something before the game at the stadium rather than after the game due to, basically because we just were having too much of a good time. So we didn't get there till later on. But Andrew, Adam, thank you for joining us. Adam, it was really lovely meeting you at the weekend. Again, apologies for this podcast tonight. I am recovering from a cold. Adam has a cold. There will probably be coughing and spluttering. If you are, offended by watching this podcast due to the coughing and spluttering, go and have a lateral flow test, and I'm sure you'll be negative because I'm pretty sure this doesn't come through the camera, I suppose. So, Adam, I know you're not feeling too great, but did you have a good time on Sunday? Again, it was lovely meeting you for the first time, actually, probably face to face.
Yeah, no, it was great to meet you guys and everyone else that was there. We had a lot of the, a lot of the fantasy league team there as well, so that was good. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't the greatest of games, but it was decent. It was good just to go, good to see all the fans in the stadium and have some fun there. And I mean that was great. But not the greatest game. But hopefully this Sunday's will be better. So.
Well, Andrew, me and you were just chatting about this before you went live. You've got a feeling this game this weekend, Tua maybe playing, Trevor Lawrence. It could be a bit of a bigger game than the one we got.
Yeah, definitely. I think I thought this would be the better game of the two before the season even started. But yeah, I think with the way they've sort of matched up and the way they're going at the minute, I think this game could go to the fourth quarter and we'll still be interested in it. So yeah, I've got high hopes on this one being a bit better than the last one.
Yeah, it wasn't the greatest game, but we saw some cool things. We saw Kyle Pitts' first touchdown in the NFL. That's a moment in history. I actually turned to my girlfriend who was sat next to me in the game at the time and went, we've just witnessed history there. Like, this game might not be great, but we've witnessed some history with Kyle Pitts getting his touchdowns. We saw Zach Wilson play badly. Very much looked like a rookie quarterback. We were sat quite far back. And I've never been sat that far back with the pitch sort of directly in front of us, which I've never had that sort of front view of it. We've always just been off that set to the side. It's incredibly interesting watching the plays from that high up and how it all works out. It's like playing Madden in a way, but you take sort of the back seat of it. And it was so clear. We all said, all of us who were sat there, he looks like a rookie quarterback. We can see these routes that the players are taking, and he is just not spotting them at all. And he's been very regimented in that's the play and that's what they're going for, but not really playing very loose. So hopefully this game this weekend will be a lot better between Miami Dolphins and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Us three, again, will be there, like I said, as well as many others involved with the Franchise Tag podcast. Hopefully you guys can come down and have a beer with us, come and chat to us, chat some NFL. It's going to be a really good morning, really good fun day out, and hopefully it'll be a really cracking game as well. A big week for NFL, though. London games this week. We're going to be talking about some stuff on here. We've got Andrew's point. You know how the show goes now. We talk about our point and we discuss it between us. Andrew will have one, Adam will have one, and myself. One thing we should address before really we kick off with the show, the whole John Gruden stuff coming out. John Gruden has resigned as the Las Vegas Raiders head coach due to comments and emails that have been made over a large span of time, including racial slurs, homophobic slurs, misogyny slurs. A lot of bad things going on there. We're not going to talk about it too much on this podcast. He's resigned now. It's not been undone. It should be investigated. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more coming out about this sort of stuff. But the Franchise Tag podcast fully supports We are totally against racism, homophobia, misogyny of any sort. The right action was for him to resign. Las Vegas Raiders, I don't think, acted quick enough, nor did the NFL, and that's why this has happened. It's horrible to see in a game that we all love, and after we just had such a great time on Sunday with the NFL and that whole experience, to then have things like this come out, it does leave a bitter taste in your mouth. But the right things happened. He's resigned, and I'm sure more will happen in the future with that ongoing. But from us at the Franchise Tag Podcast, if anyone does ever feel negative towards anyone in the NFL community, in the NFL UK community, with anything, then you're more welcome to talk to us. We're happy to be here to listen to if you feel like you need someone to talk to. But we'll move on with the show. We were talking about the Miami Dolphins coming this weekend. So, Andrew, maybe we should start with you this evening, because I do know your topic is surrounding the Fins.
Yeah, I mean, when you guys put in the group what you're thinking about for the topics this week, I thought it was fitting to talk about the Dolphins, because I was kind of having a little look around at what I wanted to talk about, saw what you guys are talking about, and I thought, you know what, who's really disappointed me the most this year? And it was a toss-up between the Washington defense and the Miami Dolphins as a whole, because Washington, I thought they would not be a fantastic team, but I think their defense has not been what we thought. But the Miami Dolphins had a winning record last season. They just missed out on the playoffs. All of us thought they had a good draft. Everyone we had on the show in the preseason all spoke highly of them and how they were moving forwards and pushing forwards. And although they've had some tough teams to go up against to start off with the season, I just feel like they're going backwards. And I don't know what the problem is. And I understand they've lost Tua, but no one was overly hot on Tua week one. No, people were quite disappointed with him and thought, that maybe they need to look at a new quarterback. Jacoby Brissett's come in and he's not looked terrible. He's not been throwing interceptions. His passer rating's quite good. He has been moving the ball, not deep downfield, but like moving it slowly, which might be a bit of the problem. Their defense has not looked anywhere near as good as what it did last year. And I just don't know what the issue is there. We thought this was a growing franchise for the future. We thought it was one to watch this year. The Patriots have improved on their last year, and they look like they are progressively, slowly getting better. And the Dolphins look like they're getting worse. So I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts and opinions, see whether you agree with me or not. They've got a couple of easy games coming up, but I've looked at their schedule and I can only really see them having 7 more winnable games when you look at the schedule. So that puts them at eight wins for the season, which is going to be a losing record this year. And it's going to not see them in the playoffs, which I think with what you've been doing there and where you've got to from last season, I don't think that's acceptable. And I do believe that the way the Jaguars have played the last 2 weeks, I think this could be a win for the Jaguars against the Dolphins. And then that's going to be a tough season for the Dolphins to continue for there to, like I say, to maybe qualify for the playoffs and get some wins in there.
I think it's a little bit harsh considering the trouble they've had at quarterback. I think it's such an important position. They just haven't been able to put up the points, have they? I think that's a big problem for them. And Jacoby Brissett has been in the league for quite a while now, and he's never really shown that he is of the standard to be a starter. I know, but they got 28 points, didn't they, in one game?
Yeah, they took the Raiders to overtime and put 28.
Yeah.
I think they put 17 points up in their last 2 games. But, I mean, when you look at the flip side of it, they've conceded 45, 31, and 27, which that's not an offensive issue.
No.
And Jacoby Brissett, I think, is a very veteran head and reliable backup, not a starting quarterback. And like I said, no one was overly hot on Tua after his first game. So if Tua was in there, would we see anything any different?
I mean, maybe not. It is a really strange one because, like you said, they were such a big they had such a good season last year, and they were kind of almost. I don't think anyone thought that they were going to catch up to the Bills, but I think a lot of people thought they'd push them quite hard this season, and it just doesn't seem to have happened for them for whatever reason. I mean, yeah, the defense has struggled. I think a lot of it, that having your quarterback taken out, I think, is a big thing. But like you say, the defense has struggled as well. And I don't quite know really why it's all seems to have gone a bit wrong for them.
I think that at the start of the season, and I'm guilty of this as much as the next person, is we did buy into, they looked really great last year. They can progress to the next level. The Dolphins really were good for the second half of the year last year. They didn't have a great start. Their defense did slowly get better and better. By the end of the season, it was looking like a really hot defense. We've come into this year with that recency bias of that, thinking this is a team that can go somewhere for sure. And really, when you think about it, they lost more defensive players than they gained. They lost people like Carl Van Noy, who, all right, is not one of the best middle linebackers around now, but is a veteran head and a veteran presence with basically the Patriots off-cut staff and Brian Flores, and also a lot of their coordinators were from the Patriots. There was that synergy there. They didn't exactly add loads in free agency to that defense to make it better. They kept a lot of same pieces, if not lost some pieces. And then we look on the other side of the ball offensively. Yes, there's been quarterback trouble, but again, did they do much? They brought in Will Fuller. Will Fuller's not played a game yet, I don't think, due to either suspension or IR. I can't remember.
I think he's played 2 games already. I think he has suited up and played in 2.
Okay, well, he's suited and playing 2, but hasn't clearly done anything. Jalen Waddle's come in, rookie wide receiver. Admittedly, though, a lot of people had him as one of the best wide receivers to come out of college this season. It always takes time for some rookies. Some rookies boom. So, Jamar Chase couldn't catch a ball in preseason, and now looks like he could be, we're talking about race for MVP later, he could be maybe the offensive rookie of the year from the way he's going at the minute. And their offensive line has been deemed young and getting better, which it was last year. It was very much a rookies last year, and they're going to take a step up this year. They haven't done that so much. And then there's been the problems at quarterback. So really, I just feel like we all maybe bought in a little bit too much before the season started. And when you look at the grand scheme of it all, really, it's not that we thought, it's not that we're wrong in a way, but I think we all just maybe believe the hype a little bit too much. But I think you're right. I think the defense has not picked itself back up yet. But I would argue last year they did only pick themselves up half of the season. It only got better. It got better after halfway. So there is time for that. And what was it in the first episode that we did, Adam? Don't panic. Is it a don't panic thing for the Dolphins? Because the Patriots. I've got their schedule up just here. So they beat the Patriots by a point. They got blown out by the Bills. They were always going to lose that game. The Raiders, it was a close game. And we would have said at the start of the season they were going to win that game. The Colts, I think we could have argued both sides for that, I feel like. And we would have always said they were going to lose to Tampa. So they've only really lost 1 game, maybe 2, you could argue, with the Colts, of what you would predict at the start of the season. So I don't know. I think your comments are fair, and I think in 8 and 9 season, though you just make it sound like a negative, again, it's just about where they were last year. And okay, it'd be nice to take the jump again, but they've got time. They have got time with these players that they have, because they've got a lot of young players and a lot of good players. So they have time.
Can I just say, though, I said don't panic on that first episode. When you're 1-4, that's when you start panicking.
Yeah, and you say 8 and 9 isn't a bad season. I'm saying 8 and 9 at best. I'm saying they've got maybe 7 more winnable games.
Yeah.
But they're not. You say that, the Colts game and the Raiders game, but I've watched quite a bit of that Colts game, and my dad watched a lot of that Colts game, and they did not look good. They didn't look good. And I think that's the issue I'm taking from it. When you watch more than just looking at the score and the stats, they don't look like there is an answer. I don't think putting Tua back in there makes them, oh my God, look, they can beat people. This is what I'm saying. I think the way that the Jaguars have played the last 2 games, I think they've been if you watch other people, I think the Lions have looked like they've got more about them than the Dolphins when you watch them. And the Lions haven't won a game yet. And they're in a bit of disarray. But I feel like when I watch them, I'm more excited to watch them than the Dolphins. So
they seem to put on a show, the Lions, though it's a poor show and they lose. At least they look sort of galvanized in a way. I think Dan Campbell brings that as a head coach, I think, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's very sort of like, you know, it's all the passion and the sort of, you know, kneecap biting and all that sort of stuff that he's obsessed with. And it's like, so I think because of that, there is that sort of that thing behind him, which is why, you know, they want to put on the show. Yeah, I mean, I don't know the Dolphins. We kind of, like we said, we really felt that they were going to kick on and they just haven't. And I mean, I don't know. I think everything that's going on with the Jags at the moment, Urban Meyer, all that stuff, I would be surprised if the Dolphins didn't get the win. But yeah, I mean, it's not looking great for them because, you know, they've got the Jags, they got the Falcons. I didn't think the Falcons played particularly great against the Jets on Sunday.
But they didn't travel with their two best wide receivers.
No, that's fair. So, I mean, that's something. But the one thing I would say, you know, the Dolphins have got to play the Bills. They've got to play the Ravens. You know, Patriots again. It's not looking great.
Question to you both, actually. They go 8-9. Do you move on from Tua?
Well, personally, I think that they're just kind of using him anyway until Deshaun Watson becomes available. And when I mean become available, I mean all the court stuff gets taken away. So I think as soon as that happens, they're going to be in for him anyway.
Yeah, I had that down for my notes. I think I liked Tua. I thought he was great in college, but the injury history has got to sort of really show for you to say, I need to find a franchise quarterback for the future, and can go all. They have the ability to go all in on Deshaun Watson. I think I think they'll make a play for that as well.
Well, if the Watson stuff doesn't get all cleared up, there's a guy in Wisconsin who probably really likes the warm weather. So
I don't know who that would be.
Well, he was rumored to come down to Pittsburgh, baby, last week.
Not Jordan Love, is it?
Right, we'll move on from the Dolphins. Adam, what are you bringing to the table this week, my man?
So mine's it's a strange one because I kind of, at first I was like, why the Chiefs shouldn't worry. And then I kind of changed it to why the Chiefs should worry. And now I'm very much like, it's kind of more of an open discussion when it comes to what's going on with the Kansas City Chiefs. They're currently 2-3. This is the team that were in the Super Bowl last year and lost. They won the Super Bowl not that long ago. It all seems a little bit strange. What's going on there. Now, I had a look and they've beaten the Browns and they've beaten the Eagles. And then they've lost to the Ravens, the Chargers and the Bills. Now, when you look at that's aside from the Eagles, that's 4 really tough teams to play against. So, you know, I was just having a look. The Bills have got the number 1 defense, the Browns number 8, Chargers 10, Ravens 17, Eagles 20. They're all they're decent defenses. That now the Eagles and Ravens, okay, not the best, but the other 3 were top 10. So, you know, they are playing against good teams. And this is why you feel like you shouldn't panic, because there's a lot of teams that they have got coming up where the defenses are not great. So they've got to play Washington, Titans, Giants, Packers, Raiders. The Raiders have got the best defense. They're ranked at 22 at the moment. So they really do have a much easier schedule for them next 5 games. Having said all of that, the Chiefs' defense is an absolute mess. And I don't quite know what's happened. it just seems to have completely disintegrated compared to what had happened over the last couple of years. And it feels like they had the Super Bowl loss last year, and they went, oh no, the O-line, we've got to, that's what's destroyed us. And because of that, they've gone, right, we're going to change the whole O-line, and we've just completely forgotten about the defense and gone, yeah, they'll be all right. And that is how it kind of comes across. And it's such a bizarre thing when you actually look at that team and the players that are on that team. It's a really good squad of players. And they're still scoring. They're averaging 30.8 points a game. I mean, that's crazy. That's going to win you most games. But the problem is that the defense is conceding 32.6 per game. And so this is where the problem is. And you've got, it's bizarre because, Mahomes is the ranked number 1 quarterback. Hill's the ranked number 1 wide receiver. Kelsey, the ranked number 1 tight end. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's done okay, but again, he's not been great. And it's like, that's the same as what it was last year.
He's now headed to IR.
I think Hill's got a bit of, Hill and Kelsey both picked up injuries, but looks like they're both going to play this weekend. It's a really sort of strange situation where I kind of feel like it's more of a question that I've put out to people before, where is it just that they've played some really good teams, or is it that the defense is just so bad that they've got there's just no chance? Because the thing is, as a Packers fan, they are reminding me very much of Green Bay over the last few years, where the offense is doing everything and the defense cannot do a thing. So yeah, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I brought this up after about 3 weeks, I reckon. I think I put it in our group that they only beat the Browns as well because the punter messed up. Otherwise, the Browns punter messed up. Otherwise, they never would have won that one, and then they would have been in even more bother than what we're saying. That defense, like you say, I fully agree. I was going to say exactly the same. They focused on that O-line so much, and I reckon it's not just this year that they've gone, the defense will be fine. Because I thought it last year. I thought last year I had question marks about the defense, but it played all right. It played better than what I thought it did last year. But then they forgot about it. And it's been highlighted now. They are literally trash. So I think it's going to be a struggle for them. You say they've got an easier couple of games coming up, but I don't think Washington's overly easy for them. That is a strong front seven. It is a good defense. It might slow them down in a bit of points, despite the fact they haven't shown up. But that team is the players that you've mentioned. That's it. That's it for me. It's Mahomes and Kelsey and Hill. They've lost Clyde Edwards-Helaire now, and that's just not enough to be another shot at a Super Bowl. I feel like we were talking about the Bills. The Bills needed one more piece. And with Brady down at Tampa, they've got multiple pieces there. You take one out, it's not a lost team. There's just not enough pieces in that Chiefs team for me. It's very O-line heavy, Mahomes, and those two receivers in Hill and Kelsey. And there's not a supporting cast, I think, strong enough to carry that team for the whole season. If one of them takes a knock, I think they're done.
I think when a team does so well year on year like the Chiefs do, what they clearly did this offseason was when we lost the Super Bowl because our O-line was all injured and rubbish. We're going to put a load of money into it. And that was their weakness. And it feels like they're at that point now where we're a really complete team. We're really good. So what's the one thing we're a bit short on? And it was this for 1 year, then next year, and you build till you're at a comfortable point. And the end of 2020, their weakness, so to speak, was the O-line. And they're like, well, everything else is complete. We've got a high power offense and we've got a really good defense. So why do we O-line was what lost the Super Bowl? Let's just plow a load of money into that. But they didn't. Again, you say about depth with the offense. There's no depth on the defense. You know, when outside of Tyrann Mathieu in the backfield, there's not overly anyone who. Thornhill was decent last year. We haven't really seen him. Chris Jones on that defensive line is fantastic, but Frank Clark can be hit and miss. There's not really much going on in that defense wise, and it may be a little bit. This money they've been plowing in, they gave a big contract to Chris Jones. Matthews on good money. Mahomes gets his mega contract. They pay Joe Tooney a load of money. They get Orlando Brown in, who's on a big contract as well. It's what happens when you pay everyone. You cannot go and get the depth. You can't go and get them players. So I think, personally, it sounds really mad because I think they will still do well this year, but this team will deteriorate. I think it will get a bit worse year on year. It won't flip. It won't go from 13 wins to 6. But we'll see a win or two shaved off here and there because things have to reset. Now, I feel like Andy Reid and that back office is incredibly smart. They are smart enough to be able to do this. They know they're not going to keep hold of people. Hopefully, they'll do a bit of a Patriots thing where they get people off early rather than later, because that clearly is a very effective system in New England, and every team should really apply that because you can then get the most back for what you give away. But it's going to catch up with you, and this defense has been so poor to begin with, and it's just the Mahomes show every time. And if I'm really honest, and this sounds stupid as well because it is why we love him. It seems like he has to be flash every game. It seems to me every game there is some sort of flash aspect to Mahomes, which is why we all love him. He is so incredible to watch as a quarterback. Sometimes I quite like a quarterback just doing the throwing really good and just doing it like properly and well, not these trick things, not these messing around things. And it feels like it has to be the Mahomes show every game. Then the Mahomes show every game will lose you games because you cannot play that way every time. Sometimes I just have this bit of sense about sometimes I've been watching him that this button up aspect is not as there as it was at the start. And, maybe it's winning a Super Bowl, maybe it's being an MVP, maybe it's knowing how good you are. But it creeps up a little bit. That I don't know. Am I looking too much into that?
Is it not more of a problem that actually they kind of almost force him into that, though? This is the thing, because it kind of feels like, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, it's not really worked. Now they've improved the O-line, still not really worked that great. I mean, I think he's ranked number 21 at running back at the moment before he's now gone on IR and stuff. But it's an okay running back, but it's not a Super Bowl contending running back. So it's like, and that's with this good offensive line. So you do sort of feel like, is it almost like, well, the run game's not really there. So what else can we do? We almost have to get him to do something special every time because otherwise it doesn't really work. I mean, so you do kind of feel that that's the problem with him. But the one thing I would say is I just kind of feel like, Kelsey's only going to go on for so much longer. And it feels like this is becoming a wasted year. It's almost like the whole point of having Mahomes on the rookie contract. I mean, has his new contract actually started yet, or is he still on the rookie deal? Because I know he signed it, but there's years, isn't there? That's in the future.
I'm unsure when it triggers and starts. Yeah. I would note he has the most touchdowns in the league. No, he's the number one. He is the number one ranked. I mean, a lot of this isn't Mahomes. A lot of this isn't the offense. You can't blame it. The vast majority of their problems is all on the defense. Well, I've got actually his stats here. He has had 30 plus attempts in every game. I mean, his last game against Buffalo, he had 54 throws. Okay, that game went into that. No, I didn't go. Of course, it didn't go into overtime. He had 54 throws. The game before that, 30, 44 before that, 31, 36. their numbers are creeping up, and he's going to be throwing more now that Darrell Williams is in.
I might be wrong about this, but I feel like this is the thing. I feel like they've been playing from behind a lot in most games.
Yeah.
Which means they haven't been able to clock manage as well as what they have done in the past, because they're having to force the ball down the field every single time they get it. I remember them being so dominant because they'd be in front, and then all you need to do is run the clock out for the rest of the game. Now they're having to they're forcing themselves into a gunslinging game because they go down, score, the next team goes down and scores, and they're not managing the clock well enough like they used to. And I think that's the biggest issue. I do think they've been playing from the back.
And the defense hasn't been good enough to get fumbles, to get interceptions, to make them game playing moments. Yeah, it's an interesting one. We're really Patrick Mahomes this would be interesting if he's in our next conversation. So I'm bringing to the table this week the race for the MVP title. So we're off into week 6. I think it's time to take a look at who we've got as the forefront of the MVP race here. I'd love to be more diverse in the positions that I've picked, but traditionally it's a quarterback. So I've picked 4 that are in the front running that are all quarterbacks. Spoiler alert. I feel like you would have known that anyway. But there will be some honourable mentions at the end, and I'm sure you guys would probably add to it. But these are my 4 guys who I think are at the top of the list at the minute for the MVP race. Number 1, it's Josh Allen at the Buffalo Bills. Bills 4-1, top of the AFC East. They're in the top 3 for the AFC with the Chargers and the Ravens. Stats wise, not incredible by Josh Allen so far. You know, he's sort of top 10 in yards, and he's got 12 touchdowns, which is 5th. He's only had 2 interceptions. He's had 188 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns as well. He has thrown for 250 plus yards in 3. He threw for 249 in one game. Let's call it 250 in four games out of the 5 that they've played. Every time he's on the pitch, he has that Russell Wilson confidence that I've said about Seattle a lot. As long as he's on the pitch, they're going to win. It don't matter if there's any weaknesses. The only thing is that Josh Allen's team doesn't have any weaknesses anymore. We said this earlier in the program. They were missing a top receiver that went and got Stephon Diggs. They were missing a pass rush last year. They drafted Gregory Rousseau, who is actually he's having a storm of a season. Andrew, I know you were there for him at the start. He is doing very well. He got a couple. I think he got a couple of sacks in the last game as well.
Got an interception as well.
Well, there we go. He's performing fantastically. Josh Allen, the advantage Josh Allen has is his team collectively is performing at a very high level. They've given him pieces. He's using Dawson Knox more than ever. They brought in Emmanuel Sanders, who's such a Swiss Army receiver, who's very identical to Cole Beasley in that way, where they seem to be just here, there, and everywhere around the pitch. He's got the deep ball guy in Stephon Diggs. Okay, their running game is not great, but I don't mind. Devin Singletary and Zach Moss, I think, is perfectly capable. I think that's perfectly fine. You've got a bit of a thumper and a bit of a speed guy. Fine by me. You can have that more than a singular good back. I'm okay with that. I love everything about Josh Allen. I love the progression he's made from rookie to now. He's just earning this every year. Every year he's getting that. It was, when he came as a rookie, it was like, okay, that they might maybe be a playoff team now if he can perform, to this team's now going to be a playoff team, to now this team's going to be a Super Bowl team. I think this year, they could be in the Super Bowl, personally. For me, I really do see that in the AFC. I think they've got a really bright future. My second one is we go from we're going to talk about this guy in a bit, but Kyla Murray's my next one. I know you may have an issue with this, Andrew, but he's unbeaten at the minute. That is a lot of why he's in. He's unbeaten. They're first in the division, in the hardest division in football, may I add. They're first, and they're top of the NFC. The NFC was meant to be way better than the AFC 2 years ago, and Kyler Murray and his Cardinals, which you would not really say no one thought they'd be 5-0 at this point, are dominating the NFC. Again, very top 10 in his stats, 6th in the yards in the league, with 9th in touchdowns, 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, admittedly. Not ran around as much as usual, which I'm liking. I'm liking that he's not being as frantic. He's got James Conner and Chase Edmonds as two community running backs, like we said. They brought in veterans. We criticised that the other week. I think we were all completely wrong. I think it's done them so much favours bringing in people like AJ Green as a bit more of a veteran head. On their defensive side, JJ Watt coming in. It's made him a bit more complete in leadership. There has been questions about Kyla Murray's leadership. So that's where I don't like him as much as the rest of these guys. I'm very into leaders. But he's been just thrown all over the park. And it's not hard, admittedly, when you've got people like DeAndre Hopkins. But outside that, we were like, well, who's he got outside DeAndre Hopkins? Rondale Moore is doing very good as a rookie. Christian Kirk, decent wide receiver. AJ Green's doing well. He's just making everyone look great. The next one is a similar quarterback and a guy who I'm really glad is getting into this conversation. That's Justin Herbert. Enjoying everything he's doing, 4-1 in their division, and first in the AFC as well. The Chargers are a team that every year it's like this team should be good. On paper, it should be good. This year, they've actually taken it from paper and put it on the pitch, finally. They are good. Every time I watch a Chargers game, Mike Williams is catching an 80-yard touchdown. Every game. He hasn't thrown a pick in the last 3 games. He's at the top end of the scale in the stats wise. He's 4th in division in the NFL with yards 1,576, 13 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. Has a touchdown as well himself, as well as 60 rushing yards. I like everything about him. He's not got an attitude. He's just good quarterback play, solid play, and I think. The addition of Brandon Staley's done him wonders, I think. And he's getting this sounds stupid. He's getting smarter with his plays. He's not making stupid, risky plays. He's making clever plays, and he's throwing it away when he needs to throw it away. He is maturing. He's doing the Josh Allen thing. He is just being up and up and up and up. And the last one is a total U-turn from all 3 of the other guys, and that is the ageless wonder, Tom Brady. He is not looked great, admittedly, in some games and spots, but you just can't argue the results. He has weapons that he utilizes everywhere so well, and he's so clever, and he's doing this at his age. And I know he's been MVP 3 times. He was at MVP in 07, in 2010, and 2017. He's number 1 in the league at the minute in yards, 1,767, second in touchdowns, we're only 15, only 2 picks this year as well. He's number 1 in the league for yards per game. He gets 353.4 yards per game. He's including this conversation really because it should not be possible what he is doing, and yet he is still doing it. Bucks 4-1, winning their division, 3rd in the NFC. Admittedly, their defense has not been as good. That's why we're not discussing the Bucks more. I don't think as going back to the Super Bowl. I think people have been disappointed with the Bucks. Their defense wasn't great at the start of last year either. It got better. Much like we said about the Miami Dolphins, however, Bucks was on a greater scale because they went to the Super Bowl. But he just has weapons everywhere, and it doesn't matter who's playing. He uses them well. Scotty Miller, where's he been this year? He will come out. He will have a 100-yard game somewhere and a 2-touchdown game because something will happen. They'll rotate in and out. He's used Antonio Brown incredibly, completely revitalized Antonio Brown's career. Still don't like him as a Steelers fan, but that's fine. That's neither there nor here. Rob Gronkowski still doing great. OJ Howard and Cameron Brate still irrelevant. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Tyler Johnson still not really featured that much yet, but will come up in a game. He will make a big play. He will have a 50-yard game with a touchdown or something like that. He just elevates everyone and elevates the team. I have got some honorable mentions, and that is Lamar Jackson and Dak Prescott. I think they've got to be in the conversation. Lamar, I think his throws improved. I think not having a running game, he's having to put on his back a little bit sometimes. But I'm liking that he's winning games though because of that slow start at the start, but now he's getting back to it. I don't think we've seen the next step from Lamar. Lamar's throws get a little better. I argue the 3 young guys we've just said, Kyla Murray, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, have done that big next step. Dak Prescott, if he doesn't get the MVP, he'll get comeback player of the year. The Cowboys, I think everyone is just afraid to admit that there's actually a team in the NFC East who is really good. And unfortunately, Andrew, that's the Dallas Cowboys at the minute. We talked about Trayvon Diggs the other day, potentially defensive player of the year. The weapons they have. Zeke is looking fantastic. Amari Cooper looks great. They're bringing back Gallup. Gallup's going to be coming back. A few of the offensive linemen are coming back as well. they're just Dak is just using everyone to. And my argument maybe is that Dak isn't quite in that level because Dak was always this good in my mind. It's just maybe because he wasn't there last year, but we've sort of forgotten a bit about how good Dak is. But now he is playing. He's playing at the right level. He's got to be in the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think Lamar Jackson needs more than an honourable mention. I had a conversation with my dad the other day, and we had a big argument in the kitchen. He's fully sold on Justin Herbert as his MVP at the moment. He's like, no, I'm not listening to you, son. You're full of rubbish. It's like it's Justin Herbert all the way. But we have this conversation every single year, Fred, of what an MVP is. And for me, it's not just stats. And I feel like the step up that Lamar Jackson has taken to this season, winning games, and I think he's winning those games like a few at the start, behind with 2 minutes left on the clock. He's making the drives down the field and winning the games for his team. It's something that Baker Mayfield's not doing. It's something that Patrick Mahomes hasn't done. But Lamar Jackson, for me this year, like you say, he's put that team on his back. He's throwing the ball so much better than he's ever thrown it. I think if you look at the game against the Colts and the Broncos, I don't think the Ravens even ran the ball that much. I think they struggled to get, didn't they? They could have taken a knee and they would have lost their record of so many.
Yeah, he ran on the Broncos and Vic Fangio
chose not to. But there was the Broncos game. They didn't rush the ball that much. He threw the ball and they won comfortably. The Colts game, they threw the ball a lot and they won well against them. I feel like he has improved massively in that throwing game. And like I say, he's put the team on his back. And I feel like he is pushing them over the edge every single week in that last 2 minutes and winning games from behind. I feel like for me, that's an MVP candidate. So for me, he's close to his stats, very close to his stats through the first 4 or 5 games that he had when he won the MVP. So I think for me, if he continues on this, he's my MVP at the moment.
I think whatever anyone says when it comes to the MVP, the team normally gets to the championship game of their conference. That's normally how it happens. If you look at who's won it over the last few years, Cam Newton in 2015, they got to the Super Bowl. Matt Ryan 2016 got to the Super Bowl. You know, you got Brady in there, Mahomes, Rodgers. They've all got to their championship games or the Super Bowl. I think when you actually look at it, you sort of think, so who's actually there? Because to be honest, all the guys that have been said, that's where your winner's going to be. It is. Because it is quarterback. I mean, was it Adrian Peterson was the last one, I think, who wasn't a quarterback to win it?
I was tempted to say Derrick Henry because he's leading. He's 7 touchdowns, 600 off leagues.
Yeah,
he'll get Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, exactly. So I think when you take that into account, you sort of think, okay, so what teams are actually going to make it to the championship game or the Super Bowl? Kansas City obviously have the potential, but with the defense, maybe not. Brady, yes. Josh Allen, yes. The Chargers, yeah, they've looked good, but I don't think they'd be making it to the Super Bowl or the championship game. Kyla Murray, the way they're playing at the moment, doesn't look like anyone's going to get near them, but, who knows? I think, personally, myself, I think it's probably going to be Brady again. I said from day one, I think they'll get there. The NFC is not great. When you look at, compared to the AFC, it really isn't. And I think that Brady is the one who, with that team, is most likely to get to the Super Bowl. And because of that, probably most likely to win it, because it just seems like it just always goes to the quarterback. Because it's like, even in that, he got the MVP, didn't he, in the Super Bowl? And to be honest, I didn't really think he had an amazing game. I mean, he did okay, but I wouldn't say he was brilliant. It was the defense that really won it for him.
People argued with Devin White or Shaq Barrett should have been in this conversation.
It's really difficult with defensive players because it's the whole defense that's causing that to happen. Yeah. So to narrow it down to one's tough. But yeah, so I can see Brady winning it again. The only other one that I can see really that I think probably will end up either, well, definitely in the championship game or the Super Bowl on the other side is Josh Allen. Because I just don't see a weakness in that team at the moment. The one thing last year that we were saying about Buffalo was that their defense wasn't great. Well, they've done pretty well so far. So I can't see that stopping. And I agree that I think Lamar Jackson, the nice thing from that Colts game that we saw was that actually he can throw the ball. Like he's had a lot of criticism, but the problem is the reason he's never had the opportunity. And he kind of has now.
I think in 2 or 3 games this year as well, they've been behind.
Yeah,
and everyone's big thing about Lamar was he can't win from behind.
No,
I know he did it in the playoffs last year, and it was like he beat Titans and Marcus Peters stamped on the tee and everything like that, and it was all crazy. But he's been tagged as a player that can win a playoff game or win from behind, and he's done both. And I do agree, Lamar. I'm just not over the hump yet on Lamar because I feel like this Colts game, on Monday night, was the game that went right. Yeah, he's in that conversation now. I wouldn't say the first few games he did anything different to what Lamar does. I think that game has gone has really propelled him. Interesting. You've both said something about Kansas. I haven't mentioned Patrick Mahomes. For me, he's not in the conversation.
I think the thing with Mahomes is that, like I said, with the amount of they are still putting up an insane amount of points per game. If that defense can improve just slightly, that's going to change them games around. And I think a lot of that will be because of Mahomes and the offense and just consistently putting up them points. And so like I say, if you get into the championship game, if you get into the Super Bowl, although it's done on the season, I feel that there's probably a strong chance you've had a pretty good season. And so that means that you're likely to be considered for it. And they just go for the quarterback every time. So I think that's why Mahomes is one of them.
Josh Allen is the favourite, isn't he?
Yeah.
I believe so. So Andrew, if yours is Lamar, who's yours then, Adam?
I think it will probably be Brady, just purely because I think the Bucs are going to win it again.
Okay, well, I think Josh Allen. And if you are, you got a bit extra money this month or anything like that, why don't you head over to our affiliate Star Sports Bets and your one-stop betting place for NFL betting this year. And you can maybe bet on the MVP winner. Josh Allen is 9-2 at the minute. Justin Herbert 7-1. Kyla Murray 5-1. Dak Prescott 7-1. Tom Brady 8-1. Lamar Jackson at 10-1. So, and there's plenty of, Aaron Rodgers at 12-1. I think that's a bit generous, but Derek Carr at 50-1. Joe Burrow at 51. It could be any of these people. You don't know. Why don't you head over to Star Sports, go and check them out for all your NFL betting needs this year. Thank you again for joining us. Andrew, Adam, thank you for joining me once again. We will see you this Sunday at the Tottenham Hotspur ground for the Miami Dolphins and the Jacksonville Jaguars game. Very much looking forward to it. Have a great week. We'll see you there. Make sure you hit us up on social media if you want to come chat with us and have a beer. It's always nice to meet friends, see friends, meet fellow NFL fans, meet fellow Steeler fans, fellow Giants fans, fellow Packers fans. We'll have different fans with us as well from different teams. We're always happy to talk NFL. But until then, have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you all at the weekend. Good night.